Hey guys, this is Sean McGarry coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the music salon where great things happen. Hope everyone's doing great out there. I got a fun little lesson today. It's going to be on melodic soloing and actually all kinds of topics. Who knows? But the idea is how to create little melodies and how to look at chords, all that fun stuff. And of course, before we get into it, just a couple quick things, man. Got my Patreon page up and running. It's a slow process, but got a handful of subscribers. And I'm really trying to get that thing up and rolling. It's $10 a month. And I'm basically going to give, to some of these lessons, not all, tabs and backing tracks, but mainly I'm going to try and do like separate lessons, one a week that you can't find on here. So just like a private lesson for $10. That's what I'm planning on doing. So it helps support me if you like what I'm doing here. For the price of a cup of coffee a week, you can support a poor musician. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing pretty good, but it does help me out, and I really appreciate it. And I hate asking that stuff, man, but because you always feel like a slimy salesman. But I love teaching, I love doing this, but it's what I do for a living. So if you're watching this, you're getting some out of it. Consider it. There's other ways too. You can figure it out. And hitting like and subscribe is the biggest thing you can do. Now that I've shamelessly self-promoted myself, let's dive into today's lesson. Man, and it's early in the morning here. It's still coffee time, and it's been nonstop. It's 7 days a week in Cincinnati, Ohio for me, and I love it. Yesterday I taught. I had a gig. Saturday I did my Camp Rockstar. Had to work on music all day. Friday I taught all day. Had a gig. It's just nonstop, and I love it. If you play music and you get to do it for a living, you're blessed, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful for it, and it just doesn't stop. But my point is, man, my time of the day is first thing in the morning. When I get up in the morning, I make my coffee, and I come in here, and it's, what I tell my students too, and sorry I'm a little long-winded here before we get into this lesson, and this is a little bit of advice to everyone, because I know a lot of people out here are, adults watching this that are busy and have jobs and families. And man, for me, when I try and do anything creative, by the end of the day, my mind is completely gone. If I come home at night and I try and write something or work on something, it's just not there. I mean, your brain is just too clouded with the day's events. So if you can find some time in the morning, I guarantee it's going to be your best results. So when I come in here in the morning, I pick up the guitar. Usually the first thing I play is something I like, whether it's just a chord progression. I have no idea. I don't ever come in here and say I'm going to play this or that. I just pick up the guitar and I play a couple things, and not every day. And I'm not saying I'm writing, the greatest stuff in the world or playing the greatest stuff, but it's nice ideas that I can work on. And that's what I did today. I just picked up guitar and I went like this. I went. Okay. And I put a little melody over it. So again, I'm not saying that this is like stop the presses, that was the best thing ever. I'm just saying it's an idea. Sometimes, when you work 8, 9, 10 hours a day and you come home, there's nothing in it. There's nothing. So, if you're an adult, trying to carve out even 15 minutes in the morning before you go to work or get your routine, it's just like exercise, man. Just try and get it done and get something out. So that's my advice today, is maybe try and do that in the morning. And then, then when you have more time later, come back and fine tune things. But just get that creative juice flowing first thing in the morning, and then, follow up later with when you have time. Okay, so again, I just played this little chord progression here. I just played B minor 7, C sharp minor 7, to F sharp minor 7, just kind of a funky little thing, I was just playing on. Okay, now the first thing I want to point out is this is a great example of how to figure out what key you're in. And, one question I get asked a lot is, well, how do you know what key you're in? And, I just tell people you got to use your ear, or it's usually the first chord you're playing. Okay, so like in rock and blues, it's, 90% of the time, which is good percentage, it's the first chord you're playing, but not always. And there's times where I get fooled, and, it'd be a lot for me to get into right now. And I'm sure there's total theory guys out there can give a much better answer. And I know if you look at a piece of music, it's the sharps and flats. Well, I don't know all that stuff. I just have to use my ear and kind of figure out the chords, and I have to figure out the chord progression. There's times where I could never, quick example here. If you're playing in C major and you go, you may never even play the one chord. You play the 2 minor and 3 minor. And if you didn't understand that, that's okay. But my point is you got to use your ear a little bit. So this is a great example, backing up here, of the third chord is actually the key we're in. So if I go B minor or B minor 7, C sharp minor or C sharp minor 7, well, it's the chord I land on. That's the resolve. Right, So if I'd have played over this, and let me give you an example here. So I'll put the loop on. So many of you would probably do this per my advice, in which what I've, people tell you is just what's the first chord you're playing over. So there was a time in my life where I said, okay, it's in B minor. So I would have went like this. Check it out. Nope, it's not that. So hopefully your ear will tell you that, and you'll make the face and no, it's not true. You might think, well, it's a second chord. Now you can pull notes from each of these chords, which we'll get into today. But the key, really would be like F sharp minor, and you would probably just want to play the pentatonic over this for keeping it easy. So that's what I did, and I literally just played a melody thinking about the chords. Okay, so when I started, I said, well, I got to have a starting point, and I thought, okay, I'm going to play minor pentatonic, and I started on the root. Okay, so if I'm playing F sharp minor, there's the root. And that's always a safe bet. So I went up the scale and went. And again, these are not, earth-shattering riffs, but they sound cool, I think, in my opinion. They're just little melodic riffs ideas. So the first lick I did was right out of the scale, thinking I'm going to start on the note, the root note, and resolve on it. Okay, so if I went, I'll play it from the top here. So starting on the F sharp right now over the B minor. Okay, we're right there. Again, I'm thinking about that chord shape right there. So I slid up, and there's a couple reasons behind this. A lot of it's just, riffs you play. But also, too, I'm seeing this chord. So when you see this chord now, because a lot of us get stuck in, a lot of you get stuck in this box right here, and you don't leave. And that's fine, man. We've all been there. Do it myself sometimes. If I'm not sure what to do, it's safe. So there's nothing wrong with playing it safe, right? But if you see this chord shape, check it out. There's that C sharp minor or minor 7. So I'm seeing this note right here, which is really just a C sharp, But at the time, sometimes I'm not even thinking about what note it is. I'm just playing it. So I went. Okay, then I went. Look at that, right over that chord. So it's right in the chord. Okay, and then I did this little lick. Something like that. Well, I resolved on my F sharp. Knowing the fretboard, I know that F sharp is right there. So for me, it was closer to get there than go all the way back, lower. I could have done it. So all together, real little simple melody. I went, Then I went, and then, right. So over the music. Riff 1. And that's it. So now we can talk about how to develop a melodic idea. And that's it. That's what you do. So you start with one idea and then you develop it. Okay. So then you just start doing little different things. Now my idea is always to, and I mean this, man. Like you want to develop an idea, and one of the biggest things I see people do is, and I tell some of my students, you got listen to yourself, man, because I see a lot of people play great stuff, but they're on to the next big thing, and that's kind of life, right? That's kind of how life is in general, right? You do something, and you're on to the next big thing. But develop your ideas. So I hear my students a lot of times for JSJM, and I'm like, whoa, stop. Why did you leave? Stay right there, man. It was awesome. So listen to yourself, and just get your phone out, man. And another thing, man, is like nowadays there's no reason not to record yourself. You know, I hear people, yeah. It's like, no, just fucking do it, man. Like record yourself. Get a looper, get a backing track. There's absolutely zero excuse, and you have to watch yourself to get better. Okay, people are like, I don't like to see it. It's like, well, then how are you going to get better? You have to improve. If you're a pro football team or baseball, you come into the come after a game and you watch film, right? That's what you do. And it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you don't have to get super involved, but my point is it'll really help you out because you might go, oh, I didn't realize I did that. And I record a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's junk, and I don't even watch it again. It's like, ugh. But you don't know until you do it. And a lot of times I'm like, oh my God, I did that lick, and I save it for a rainy day. And that's what you do. You start developing these riffs. So a little long-winded today, but I promise this is good advice. So now we've got a little idea. We go. That's a motif over that. I can hum that. Da 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 da. I just can't sing. Da da da. You know what I mean? So you could almost hear that as a vocal line, right? Now, my point to all this was, now you're developing this idea, so take it up an octave. You always practice things in different octaves. My rule is try and do every riff you ever play from here on out, try it in 3 octaves. And that'll help you to develop an idea, and will also help you to know the fretboard. Okay, and you will never get lost. So now, I just went up to the next octave available to me. I went, Now here's the beauty of it. It can be exactly the same or just slightly changed, just a phrasing a little bit. And that's what I mean by developing. So you're taking the same motif and just kind of developing it. And that happens all the time. If you listen to some of the greatest songs in the world, man, the vocal melody, if you break it down and learn it, it's just a couple of notes, but the singer's really just giving these little inflections to change it and make it memorable and great. And you're doing the same thing, man, with this guitar. So now this lick is up here, right? Different fingering too, which will make you play things differently. Now I'm going to slide into that note. And if you look at this arpeggio, now I'm seeing it a little differently. Even though it's the same notes, I'm going. Well, now I'm seeing this F sharp minor chord, this triad, you're seeing all this stuff, so you start to put those together. So here's lick 1 again, up an octave. Sliding up. Same lick, right? And then so all together, up this octave. Okay, and then add something different to it to end it. So if I'm playing like a minor pentatonic up here, which is really where my home base, I'm ending right here. Well, here's a great note to add in. If you're playing over minor pentatonic like this, add what's called the minor 9, or the minor 2nd, however you want to think of it. But that's a great note to resolve on. So if I go, I'll do the whole thing. All together, with the help from my magical band here. Riff 1. Here's that minor 9. But I still resolved on an F. I went. Okay, now this time, I could maybe go back and play the same melody again. And I've talked about this before a lot now, because it's a player that I really like is playing is John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers. Very underrated in my opinion. And, is he Guthrie Govan. Probably, he probably can't do all that technical stuff, but he's pretty damn good, and he can play a lot of technical stuff. But he chooses to play these like repeated melodic lines. So if you listen to some of his songs, man, like he'll play just the same simple melody like 4 times in a row. And for my ears, I like that. Some of you may not, but so there's nothing wrong with just playing the same thing over and over again, because if it's catchy, why not? And you could look at the guitar as like it is a vocal line, right? So if a singer is going to sing a chorus, well, you can kind of think of, well, this solo is like your chorus. And I think we're under the misconception that we have to play a lot of notes. And I'll give you a great example, and it's something that I love dearly. I love not the songs, but the solos. Like a lot of modern country songs, not a big fan of, but I like the guitar players and the solos. And it's kind of cool because they've got like 10 to 15 to 20 seconds to just play this really melodic thing. But sometimes it's like, well, you're giving everything you got in this 15 seconds, but what if you just played 2 notes and really just sang? So, my point is, like, it's kind of like your time to shine, so you can do a lot or a little, just as long as it's memorable. So you can play something very memorable, hooky. I don't know, I'm just rambling on here, but I feel strongly about this stuff. That's how you get better to develop these ideas. So look at the chord shapes. So let's go back to the beginning here. There's your B minor 7. Okay, your tonal center is F sharp minor. Oh, and one more thing. So when I got up there the third time around, I just played a little variation of the theme. Let's see. I'm going to come right back to that, but I wanted to mention this. So I did the third round of this, the solo, and now you can keep the same motif, that da-da-da-da-da-da, that melody, but a little differently with different notes, if that makes sense. So instead of going like this, check it out. Right? I'm going to play it. I have that in my mind, but I'm going to play it differently. So I'm going to go. Resolve again. Okay, so the idea is you can play the same motif with a little different phrasing with different notes, okay? And that's all I'm talking about here today, is if you want to get melodic, you just find one little idea and you have to develop it. And that's the way I think of it, okay? Unless you're just blessed with this, can just do it naturally, okay? Now, if we go back up here, we can find these chord shapes. So, for me, it always goes back to, arpeggios and triads. So, you can practice this stuff, and I always recommend it. But, you don't want to play that as your solo. That you don't want to go. Sometimes you do, right? I guess it's kind of cool. But in general, that's, it sounds more like an exercise. And it's a good exercise. That's why it's an exercise, right? So if I'm looking at this chord, I'm going to go right off my B minor chord, B minor 7. There's my B minor arpeggio. Whole step up. So you could practice that over the music. And it starts to take on a little more sound, like if you had the minor 7. Okay, then you can get parts of that. Just noodling around here, but like my point is, like if I start here, if I go, I add the minor 7, I go, then I add a little something to it. And you can put a little something behind it. So those are some ideas. And also too, man, you can always get into, like, I'm not going to get too much in this right now, but you can always see those little, like, 6 and 3rds. If I'm going. Or like a 6, Oh, minor, sorry. See, if I'm not seeing it, so here I'm going, and then minor. In my head, I was C major for a second. So again, you got to see these things. So let me do it one more time. So if I'm seeing this chord right here, I'm going to play right out of this minor 7 is my 6th, up a whole step. Well, up here, I think the first time I went major, but yeah. So you're just going, and you can trace those chords. So let me do it one more time. So with the chords, there's off that chord, and then. Still resolving when I do that. If I go, look how it works. I resolved on the same note as I did earlier. So check this out. And it's just putting things together. So the first time I went to see, there's my F sharp, right? So I ended that first little melody like that. Now I can do the same thing outline with these chords. So here's off the B minor 7. Now watch, right, I went up to this minor, F minor 7 up here, F sharp minor. Well, look, I still landed on that same note, just using harmony. So you get in here and you get your hands dirty and you start to find this stuff and it starts to sound musical. So I just want to share this idea with you guys of how to maybe get inspired to write little melodic motifs. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. I did. So I might jam on this a little while myself. So again, if you made it this far, as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and keep watching and stay tuned. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Got some Rhythm of Life's coming up. I'll be releasing here in the next couple weeks, and I look forward to my next lesson this week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week.